Hello and thank you for joining the midweek edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Esther Mopariola. Today on the program, gunmen, kidnappers killed 612 victims in August. At Sokoto University Don, Dr. Rufai says bandits are sophisticated money launderers who use drones and CCTV for surveillance. And President Buhari proposes new amendments to Petroleum Industry Act, nominates regulatory boards, and later on the show, 6 states opposes federal government's compulsory COVID-19 vaccination plan. I will be hanging out with Olayinka Oyegbile and Sam Ibemere. Journalist Hangout starts now. Now, as the task of ending banditry and kidnapping for ransom becomes daunting for us as a country, we're now saddled with the job of counting the cost. Now, a security report has revealed that Nigeria recorded 612 deaths across 103 local government areas in 29 states in August alone. All the victims were killed by gunmen and kidnappers in various armed attacks in Borno, Yobe, Kwara, Niger, Kogi, Plateau, Nasarawa, the Federal Capital Territory, Benue, Sokoto, Zamfara, Kaduna, Rivers, Delta, Ebonyi, Imo, Osun, Ondo, and other states. But according to the firm which released the report, Beacon Consultant, the August figure represents a marked reduction in the number of fatalities since the June figure of 1,032, the highest for the year. Meanwhile, a lecturer in the Department of History at the Usmanu Danfodio University, Sokoto, Dr. Murtala Rufai, whose decade-long research is in rural economy, brought him in contact with the bandits, described them as sophisticated money launderers who use drones and CCTV for surveillance during operations. Sam, let's begin the show with you now. Yesterday, we discussed something close to this topic, only that we looked at the army raising an alarm that the ISWAP is recruiting massively. And this is more of a worrying trend. Yes. Now, everything was attributed to bad governance and poverty. Now, with this report that is being released, what do you make of this never-ending scenario where insecurity is more like becoming a norm in Nigeria?
It only goes to confirm what we have always observed and commented here on this platform, Journalist Hangout. The summary of it is that banditry has become a very big industry. Okay? And if you have an industry, you're going to be looking out for people to employ, to recruit, so that you can drive the entire, activity around this, very shameful industry that we're talking about. It's so sad that we've come to the point where the country appears, to have returned to the Hobbesian state, where just anything, goes. I listened to the program yesterday, and what I saw, was really very disturbing. Kids, being offered pittance, to get recruited, and that's because there's so much poverty in the land. The report, turned in by this researcher, like I said, is something that we have always talked about here, and the greater concern is that we don't seem to be making any progress towards containment. Every day you have freshers, you call them recruits, get into the industry, they see the profit in it. I mean, you don't have to invest so much. If you have access to arms, you can just get in there, make so much money, kidnap people, and demand so much, because the government appears not to be in a state to curtail it, and those that have been caught in the act don't seem to have been punished sufficiently as to deter others from getting into it. That is what I think is driving this business. It just shows you that people are getting into it, and they are committing resources to it, investment. The drones you talked about is an investment. They want to gather intelligence, just like the government. You want to know how far your enemies are from your duty, from where your operational center, okay? And then the other thing that has come to light here is that there are indeed big boys behind this entire exercise. Those you see out there looking very shabby are not the masterminds of this entire thing. It only confirms what we have always talked about here. There are big boys behind it. And because money is to be made, big money, they are there, they send the guys out on errands, and the guys make money, and they give them pittance and move on. And then this money circulates within the Nigerian economy. And so it calls to question, how well are we tracking the activities of bandits? We have had, thoughts about naming and shaming and all that, and how government is responding to all these things. It is disturbing that many years down the line, we are unable to put a handle to the big boys who are behind this crime. It's time that we sort these things out. There are no spirits. It takes commitment to get these things done. And Nigerians are demanding that the government do a bit more, or a lot more, to track these people. It is true, and I agree with that report in its entirety, that there are big masquerades behind this enterprise, because it is rewarding. There is easy money to be made, and people are not being punished for getting involved. And so they recruit the young lads. Poverty has been weaponized. It's so easy. For 3,000 naira, you can get somebody recruited, and he becomes your errand boy to go pick innocent souls from the streets for a fee.
Dr. Lainka, when we talk about this thing, Sam just mentioned something that's very vital. How well are we tracking the activities of the bandits? Already, we also know the cases of what's happening in the north, where telecommunications has been shut down to track the activities of the bandits, which was proved successful in Zamfara state. But let's look at this further. Do you think perhaps the punishment for these kind of crimes has been meted out? Because already we know we've had instances where bandits who surrendered have been given amnesty, and there isn't so much that's been done to, deter others from, pursuing this heinous act. What do you make of what's being done in handling or tracking the bandits as it's
first of all, the Beacon Consulting number, I believe, is just a conservative estimate. I'm sure they undercounted, but be that as it may, the issue is that the government has not been able to convince anyone or some of us about his determination to do this. Even the governor of Borno State himself has expressed his frustration. How can you come and tell us that you are going to rehabilitate people who have killed, who have maimed, and turned the country into a killing field? Those who are in IDP camps and have not been well compensated, have not been well taken care of. You are talking about taking care of those who perpetrated the evil. The Kaduna State governor himself has come out to regret that they did the amnesty for them. You see, what I believe is that the government has the capacity. It is the will that is not there. The will that is not there is, as it was said during former President Jonathan's time, when the Jonathan government descended harshly on these bandits or terrorists or whatever you want to call them, some people came out to say that they are killing our people. Now, this government came in with the understanding that as a former military general and as a northerner himself, he will have the golden hand to deal with this problem. But unfortunately, it blossomed, or is still blossoming, under his watch. And you begin to ask yourself this question. Okay, the bandits have CCTV. Does it mean the government does not have the capacity to buy CCTV? And the idea of shutting down the whole state, or communication in the whole state, to me, well, I'm not a security expert and all that, but to me, it shows you, or it demonstrates that the bandits are winning the war. Because if you shut down the whole state, whether for positive or negative reason, you now shut down the whole communication system in the state because of bandits. How then do you hope to trace these people? When the United States was looking for Osama bin Laden, why didn't they shut down the communication space in their country or in Abbottabad where they got him? Communication is the thing that you use to get them. We have been saying this several times on this program. Bandits request for motorcycles, they request for food, they request for this, they request for that. And technology is so advanced that ordinary chip can be put into all this, and you will get the exact point where they are. So why shut down the communication system? Because of bandits. I mean, you know, when we come here every week, every day, and we talk about this, we sound like a record stock in its group, because we are saying the same thing all over again, and people begin to wonder, are we wasting our time here? What is happening? Is it that no individual or no group of individuals can ever be much more powerful than a government. True. But what we are seeing in Nigeria is that some ragtag, well, you may not even call them ragtag now, because they seem to be sophisticated and taking over the initiative from us. Well, should that be?
It shouldn't be, actually. Well, let's quickly take this call from Lagos here. Yakub, please go ahead with your contribution.
Good evening, and then good evening to your two co-hosts in the studio. I think this is a laughable matter. It's too laughable. Imagine the story that bandits have CCTV and then drone. Are you telling me, as your guest there says, that Nigeria lack capacity to have a drone? This is this is a government some of us support. We support this government not because we need anything from them, but we need them to protect Nigerian citizens. But to me now, they are failing us in protecting us. Why am I saying that? If you could remember, did you hear him mention some certain people that are behind this Boko Haram issue? And then Nigerian government also say that they have the list of them. And then since all this while, my sister, Nigerian government failed to mention those names to let Nigeria know who these people are. And then they were not telling us they shut down their communication from so many states. What are you not telling me? As your guest say earlier, that means that the bandit is really winning the war against Nigerian government. Where are we going from here? Nigerian government should sit up and stand up to protect the Nigerian citizens. We cannot continue like this.
All right, Yakub, thank you very much. We appreciate your passion indeed on this contribution. No doubt Nigerians are really looking up to the government to do the needful. But Sam, you know, one of the reasons of the clashes or the insecurity has lingered in the north, let's also not forget to mention the herders-farmers clashes. And this has been attributed to the access to land and resources. And also, let me also bring back to mind the issue of climate change now, because most of what is happening, people are looking for land and resources to take care of their cattle. So they're moving down south. And all of that is being fueled by climate change. But, you know, what are your thoughts on this, you know, situation where most of the northern state governors are not in support of the anti-open grazing bill, which seems to be the way out now in the south, and they feel that, you know, that's not the only option. There should be the old option of the grazing routes as stipulated by the president that should be adopted in the northern states. Where do you see this heading when we have clashes still ongoing and there isn't any solution in sight, and yet the governors in the north still insist in the old style of grazing routes? What do you make of what's happening? Okay,
I'd like to begin by correcting an impression. Listening to Governor El-Rufai of Kaduna yesterday, I heard him speak clearly, you know, about the position of northern governors, you know, on the matter of the anti-open grazing bill. And he said, you know, that the governors in the north do not support that headers should insist on the old practice of marching down the cows from supposedly arid land, territories to where they have better grazing grounds. He says they are in support of ranching. And I recall that even the governor of Kano State, Katsina, all of them are making efforts to develop ranches. They say it's going to take a bit of time, maybe a year or two and all that. So I think that kind of settles the matter. Initially, there appeared to be very strong reservations about ranching, because remember, there are also political issues to these things. So it was pleasing to hear Governor El-Rufai speak yesterday in support of ranching. And I think that the presidency, seemed to be encouraging them and supporting them financially. We know that a certain 6 billion naira was given to Katsina, and a few other states have also confirmed receipt of that money. So ranching, we agree, is important. It is modern, it is contemporary. To do otherwise is just to drag the nation and Nigerians back to the days. So when the president speaks, or the presidency, talks about, grazing reserves and grazing routes and all that, a lot of Nigerians have called him out. And I want to believe that the government is considering a rethink. I mean, you have to reconcile that position with what the northern governors are saying and what the southern governors are saying. I think there is some kind of understanding, but there's also a lot of politics to it, because the northern governors are saying, or seem to be saying, listen to El-Rufai again, that yes, ranching is good, okay, but give the headers a bit of time so that they can fit into the new progressive, plans lined up for them. But how much time do we have on our hands? There are clashes every day. People are getting killed. So we need to act quickly. And it is within the rights of the states to enact laws that they think can best govern their societies and make progress. So in all this, yes, there are issues of climate change. People have to move and all that. But believe me, there are enough grazing grounds in the north. We just have to get off these old ways of doing things. And you see the cows, they're all looking malnourished because they have to trek for hundreds of kilometers, including the people who are managing them. And you ask yourself, what's the gain when you go to shop for a cow and all you see is skeleton? It's very disturbing. So what's the gain really? Nigeria must come to terms with the facts, and I'm speaking to the presidency here, that we can no longer play politics with the issue of ranching. The states have the right to enact the laws that they think will best govern their states, and we seem to have, a general understanding on this matter. It's the approach that our brothers from the north appear to, be talking about. The 6 billion naira that has been given to some. Is it a selective exercise? If it's not selective, can this be made to go around so that the issue of buying time can be resolved? If the money goes round, then every state in the federation can begin in earnest to set up these ranches, and then we can have peace in our land.
Right, point taken. Okay, you have something to add.
You know what? The question we should ask ourselves is this. Countries that are in the desert region, Saudi Arabia and the rest of them, how do they manage?
Exactly.
Is it that is it open grazing that they allow? No. I know that during Salah and the rest of it, they go to Niger to import ram. How are these ram taken care of in Niger? Is it open grazing? I mean, the truth of the matter is that the world has moved on. I've said that before. In those days, we learned in history that Maman Kankan Musa went to Mecca walking and riding horses. Is that the way they do it again today? People fly. So why should we say that what has been done 18th, 17th centuries is what we are going to do in the 21st century? I mean, the world has changed. As he has said, if you go to Holland and see the cattle in those countries.
Very small countries.
Oh my God. I mean, the cattle, the welfare, in fact, when we talk about if you eat red meat, you are going to have, what is that, the cancer and all that. It is not the Nigerian beef that you eat that will give you that. It is something else. Because our own cow or our own cattle have walked thousands of miles and they are so malnourished. They don't look healthy again. So what exactly are we talking about? The truth is that we must change the way we work and we do everything.
Absolutely. Well, before we leave this discussion, what other options are available addressing the security challenges in the north, Olayinka?
The options that are available is for the government to do its bit. Just as that caller has said, the UAE has given the names of Nigerians who are being used as funnel for to sponsor Boko Haram. The Nigerian government says it has its own names. Last week or so, they said they are going to release the name. This week again, they said no, they are not going to release them. Okay, don't release the names, but arrest these people and prosecute them. Nothing is done. So you begin to look at, is it that those people who are involved, are they in government, or they are stronger than the government, or they have friends in government who are pulling the strings, and then you begin to do nothing with them? That will continue to, that will make things to continue to get worse.
Let me hold your thoughts for now. We need to take this call from Ilorin. Olalade, please go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, I quite appreciate all what the various speakers have been saying this evening. As regards to the security issue in the northern part of Nigeria, it's highly worrisome and disturbing that up till now, the federal government is unable to unravel the mystery behind this issue. To me, the capacity is there, but the political will is not there. Because I'm sorry to say, I'm not trying to be sentimental. What is happening right there in the north?
Olalade, are you still there? Since you've lost connection with Olalade, so Sam, you're about to bring in your thoughts to bear on what Olayinka posited earlier on.
Yes, I think we should just play less politics. It's important that we take politics out, of this matter and understand that we can build contemporary business models that can keep our nation going. Governor Rufai is somebody I respect a lot. I've quoted him several this evening. But then, listening to him again yesterday, saying to the governors in the South that the bills that they have enacted into law cannot be implemented. I just wonder where he's coming from. If it's not all politics. I mean, you've resolved how to deal with the matter in your own territory, and then you're finding faults with the initiative of others elsewhere. I think politics is what is responsible for all this mess that we're going through. The will. So when we talk about the will, it's about the politics of it. Why don't we want to name and shame? Why don't we want to bring people to justice? I've heard presidency aides talking about we're not going to do all this, but we'll bring people to justice. Nigerians want to see people brought to justice. When we see that, I mean, we are discerning minds.
Right.
Until then, it's going to be difficult to believe that the government is truly committed to ending this entire rubbish. An industry that has become, I mean, you talk about 129 states. That's what the report says.
29 local governments, actually.
29 local governments.
103 local governments.
Yes. Yeah. And I think the report also talked about the thing being rampant in 29 states.
Yeah.
So it just tells you that everybody's in the game. And we're talking about failed states. Even some of the governors in the north admit that more than half of their local territories are governed by bandits.
Yeah.
People pay taxes to people, to bandits. They mount roadblocks and all that. How else do you describe a failed state? I mean, we should stop humoring ourselves. The fact of the matter is that we have a crisis. Nigeria may not be a failed state, but some states in this country have failed. We must admit that.
Final thoughts on this matter, Olayinka, before we move on to
break. The truth of it is that we cannot cut the nose to spite the face. I like the way the northern governors are going about it. what the northern governors are doing, they are putting forward the argument of their own people. And those who are at the receiving end, some of the governors are pussyfooting. People voted you into power to protect them. Those ones are protecting their own people. You are here pussyfooting and not doing anything to protect your own people. Because the truth must be told. If majority, you are a governor, people who voted for you are in your states. If you can't protect the people in your state that vote for you, then you have failed. And you don't need to pander to anybody in Abuja or anybody anywhere. First of all, defend your people.
And that
is very important. The important thing.
Yes, that's a fine place to leave this discussion. We need to go on a very quick break. We'll be back with more on Journalist Hangout. Stay with us. In our world, the only thing constant is change, and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances defines us as humans. Well, just 37 days after President Muhammadu Buhari assented to the Petroleum Industry Act, he has written to the Senate requesting amendments to the law. In the letter read on the floor of the Senate today, President Buhari also wants expansion of membership of the board of the Upstream Regulatory Commission, as well as the board of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. And according to the president, it is based on the need to ensure national balance in appointments into the boards. Now, Olayinka, when we talk about this amendment that the president is seeking for, let's understand what exactly are the implications. What does this mean? You know, just let us break this down first so we can understand in pure terms.
Well, from the reports I've read, one of it is that he is seeking the increase in the Upstream Regulatory Commission and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority. What that means is that at the time when the bill was signed into an act, enough due diligence was not done. And that's exactly what people pointed out. I mean, what was the rush in signing it in 37 days after you want to amend? Although some people might look at it and say that it is only a fool who will not change his view when he sees apparent flaws in the decision he has taken. But you remember that people from the Niger Delta and from other parts of the country shouted and made so much noise about it that, look, this is not what we requested for, or this is not what you should do. But before you knew it, the president has signed it. And now, 37 days after, you want to change. Now, there are other things that needs to be changed. They want to increase the non-executive board members from 2 to 6 to take care of the 6 geopolitical zones. Before, there were supposed to be only 2. And that means, how are you going to do it? Are you going to take one person from the north or one person from the south and all that? Those are issues that will have been ironed out from the initial stage. Now they told us that, oh, by the time we sign the PIA-B or PIA now, it will be El Dorado. 37 days after, has anything changed? Nothing has changed.
Perhaps it's too early.
Well, that's how they always say it. But what I believe is that this rush to sign it at that point has been defeated. And now, another crucial matter is that they are now dropping the Minister of Petroleum and the Minister of Finance from the board. What exactly are they supposed to be doing there in the first place? I mean, all those things, when you want to enact a law, the House of Rep, the Senate, the National Assemblies have all considered it. You also give it to other people, other stakeholders, that please take a look at this. There's nothing wrong in asking other people to take a critical look at a law that you are going to enact. But this one now, we have passed it, the president has signed, and now, we may be with the benefit of hindsight, they now say that, oh no, we did, and the people who before now had argued that don't sign it.
You feel justified?
Yes. That, Shebi, we told you people that the president, in fact, in a society where things are done in a normal way, some head should roll. Why ask the president to sign it? Because you might say that this 37 days is too early, as far as I'm concerned. For such a big law, a law that governs the country's main cash cow. No, I think it calls for
serious questioning.
Yes.
Sam, your point,
Yes.
your stand on this.
Oh, okay, I'd like to come from the place of acknowledging that Mr. President has acted within his powers. We must admit that. Two, it also confirms the fact that a few things were done in a hurry. And I agree with Dr. Yobe that it raises concerns as to the level of diligence that went into the entire exercise. I mean, the period leading up to the sign of the bill, if you recall, there were demands over whether a certain 3% or a certain 5% should be considered to the oil-bearing communities. And we thought that there was going to be a joint meeting of the House, okay, to resolve some of these things. But what we saw was Mr. President, against character, you know, endorsing the document. It's clear that there are gaps. Again, it takes humility to admit that errors, you know, have been found, and those errors need to be fixed. But what is of a greater concern to me is that in acknowledging that there is need for geopolitical balancing, it just tells you that a major issue, a divisive factor in Nigeria has been who has or who's going to have access to power. The power equation, where would it lie? Who is going to be in control of it? Remember, Mr. President, even before him, the structure had been such that the president will always be the minister of, in charge of petroleum. And you ask yourself, why would the number one citizen also want to hold that portfolio? He said it's the cash cow. But beyond that, it just tells you that the opaqueness in that industry had been designed that way. It was deliberate because it gave people access to free money. Until very recently, 40 years down the line, we didn't have audited reports of the NNPC. And you ask yourself, what were the leaders doing? So it's good that Mr. President, acting against character, has acknowledged that there's a gap, and we hope that this will be the starting point to effecting a more radical, you know, review of that document, because people are still asking questions. The people of the Niger Delta have not stopped raising issues, and I can tell you that in the coming days, in the coming weeks and months, questions about how the Petroleum Industry Act is going to benefit certain sections of the society or Nigeria will continue to be raised. So let him enjoy his day. We hope that the National Assembly will act very quickly. We agree that there is need for geopolitical balancing, the federal character and all that. You can imagine what would have happened if you had just 4, you know, regions, represented, and then questions will be asked. So I think that was just, you know, being smart. But that document needs to be critically reviewed so that other salient points that have
will be revisited
yes,
as well.
will be revisited as well.
Okay, we have a call from Kaduna. Sambo, please go ahead with your contribution.
Hello?
Please go ahead, we can hear you. Go ahead with your contribution.
So thank you very much, Uncle. As I say, my name is Brian Sambo from Kaduna.
All right.
I would like to refer you back to the question of this. Hello?
Go ahead, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to refer to one of the statements made by your colleague over there about ranching. You see, ranching is a way of breeding animals, like cattle. Is it clear?
Hello, can you hear me? If your television is on, the volume of the television set has to be turned down. Okay, since we have lost connectivity with the caller from Kaduna, if you can try again, we will definitely receive your call. So, Dr. Olainka, you know, with the issues that Sam had posited earlier on, one begs the question that if this is one of the several things that needs to be revisited in the PIA, what other areas, like you have also mentioned about the host communities demanding for about 5% as against the 3% that has been ratified, or rather signed into law in the PIA. What other areas do you think needs to be revisited in the PIA, if at all it is to be looked at holistically?
In the first place, the communities are even demanding for more than 5%. The 5% granted was just like a concession that, okay, we'll give you only 5. They want more than that. And I think, in all honesty and fairness, they deserve that, because the environment is degraded. And so you need to think of how to bring back this environment. Beyond that, there's also the need for us to take a holistic look at what is really going on. There are some mineral resources that are being mined by states, that are being mined by individuals, but that of oil is centralized. Those are the things that they have been crying about. We all know that in Zamfara, it is the gold mine that is the major cause of all the problems there. We have not been able to find a way that government should use the same system that we are using for oil.
Same template.
Exactly, for the same thing. So those are the issues that from time to time annoy the Niger Delta people, that if you allow the North to take care of its own minerals, it is the same mineral, they are in the same category, it is the same mineral. Because the oil in our place was found first and everybody faced it, does not mean we should be allowing those ones to be going through the back door and be sharing from the same vat, because this issue every time boils down to the sharing of resources. It is the resources that is the cause of all these problems. And if we, in 2 years, less than 2 years that this government has, it may not be able to solve all those problems. But there should be a template that will be laid down so that the incoming government, the government that will succeed it, will be able to follow it through. Just as this government has been able to follow some of the infrastructural development that the outgone administration did. The same way, if we have a template that is good enough, the next government will be able to also follow it through. And if it doesn't want to follow it through, people will shout and things will be done. But the way it is going now, I'm afraid there's no template, there's no direction. Everybody is just like, as we do, fire brigade measure. Oh, there's trouble here. Let us face it. And when we finish with that, we go to another trouble. The one that we have quelled here, we rise up again. That's the unfortunate thing.
Sam, where do we go from here? Final thoughts on this issue?
Justice. There is this very strong perception that there is so much injustice in the land. And until we're able to, ingrain justice, equity, fairness as what, drives us as a people, we're going to be having, these problems. We also need to be very patriotic in the way we deal. You talked about diversity, but that could become our strength. I won't end without drawing attention to what the liaison officer, I don't remember his name, but he was on television yesterday saying that on the issue of 30% for under the PIA, the Petroleum Industry Act, there's this certain 30% for, is it, I'm trying to recollect the term, but he noted that what the president had recommended was 10, and what the lawmakers eventually approved was 30. So it raises bigger concerns. Did we have the larger national interests at play, or was this about a collection of individuals pursuing personal interests? Because the margin is too much, between 10 and 20, between 10 and 30. Mm-hmm. So we've got to ensure that justice, equity, fairness becomes a way of life. Right. Otherwise, we're going to continue to have these constant agitations across the length and breadth of this country.
All right, well, that's a fine place to leave this discussion. We will continue with more on the show after this break. Stay with us. As Nigeria intensifies COVID-19 containment measures, vaccine phobia among citizens appears to be rising to put us in jeopardy. Well, as the federal government plans to impose sanctions on people who refuse the vaccine when it is made available to all, some states have said they do not intend to force anyone to take the jab. The states, including Enugu, Taraba, Cross River, Ogun, Bauchi and Abia, said they will rather appeal to their residents to take the vaccine instead of adopting drastic measures to compel them. Dr. Yegbile, what they tell you when you hear such stories like this? Many people have been saying this COVID vaccine, I can't take this vaccine, I have too much concerns. And now we are talking about compulsory vaccination. I remember some weeks ago where Edo State governor made it compulsory and they had to take the matter to court and the court had to stay the execution and all of that. Now we're going back to this all over again. Some states are more or less buying into that idea that everyone needs to be vaccinated compulsorily, while others are saying, well, we will appeal. Are we seeing something? What do you make of this whole scenario?
Well, what I see in all this is that perhaps people have not gotten enough enlightenment about it. For instance, people share on social media so many lies, so many things that happen to people who took it. They have electromagnetic and all that. I'm happy to announce that I've taken the 2 jabs.
Congratulations.
After many months, I've not developed any horns.
Or did you put the phone on your arm and see if it was
It has never happened. So the thing is that I think what we need to do is education and enlightenment. Those who think they don't want to take it, some of them are doing that out of some religious sensibilities. As people say, some people believe their religious leaders more than their Bible. The religious leader claims the pulpit or the what do they call it, they use in the mosque, and pronounces something and people don't want to question them. My own stand is that God that made science, that created human being and give the knowledge of science has a reason for that. And when people say that they don't believe in it, they don't want it to do, it is not. We've seen people who have taken the 2 jabs that still fall sick and still die. People will tell you that actually he has taken it and he's sick and it was the same thing that killed him. As one of the radio presenters used to say, I would rather err on the side of caution, that is taking it than not taking it. I've taken it, I've not fallen sick, and I've not grown horns, I've not seen any change in my physique. But the truth is that people should just get themselves educated about. This is not the first time we are taking. I mean, when we were growing up, there were those ones that were even. That is it. It was one heavy machine like this, and every one of us has that mark on it. Yoruba call it number because it is there permanently. Yeah, permanently. And I mean, for me, it is rather unfortunate that some people will want to campaign against it and say that no, they won't take it. Whether the state has the right to force people to take it is another matter entirely. But the truth of it is, the state has the right to protect the citizens from being infected. And that is the angle from which I want everyone to look at it. For those who are saying they won't take it, if some of those so-called first world countries today say that if you show us that you have been vaccinated and you want to come to our country, we'll allow you to come. Of course, even the religious leaders who are saying they should not take it, they will go and take it and they will go. So what is it? I mean, it is, as they say in the street lingo, I want them to borrow themselves sense to go and take it.
Sam, what do you make about this, and what will it take to get Nigerians to take the jab, even with the concerns attached to the COVID-19 vaccine?
I'll take the second question first. I can't agree any less with Dr. Yobe. Enlightenment, awareness creation. We need to get our brothers and sisters to understand that COVID-19 is real. It's not an epidemic, it's a pandemic. It's a global concern. Millions have died from the disease. And it's no joke. The figures are out there. Except someone chooses to be blind to the entire, health challenge. It is real. Millions have died. Many more are being reported dead. And we have variants that are even a lot more dangerous than the very first one. We're battling with Delta variants in Nigeria today, or the world is battling with the Delta variant. So these are global concerns. But the issue of doubt is there. It's not just a Nigerian thing. Even in the US, even in UK, the rest of Europe, there are people who are marching on the streets and saying, no, we're not going to take it. And what are the governments doing? Persuasion. Because there's a limit to it. There are certain beliefs you just can't manage. And it's not helped by the fact that certain, conspiracy theories have been built and are being propagated by very influential people in the society. People believe they're religious leaders. And if somebody climbs the pulpit and tells you, if you're in this environment, you cannot contract it, it's kind of crazy. People will believe. And then they'll run with that idea. But my take is that this health challenge is real. I've had my first dose. I've not had second. My second dose will be sometime first week in October.
Right.
And I'm doing pretty well. In fact, there's this joke that has made the rounds that those who have taken are watching to see whether those who don't take will die. Why those who have not taken are watching to see whether those who have taken the vaccination will die. You see, but we must admit that this is real.
Okay, we have a call from Kaduna. Michael, please go ahead with your contribution.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
Everybody there.
Good evening.
Yes, my contribution is just sorry to take you back regarding the security. I think the government, just like everybody has been saying, that the government seems not to be showing much seriousness in tackling this problem. Like last month, there was a man who spoke on TV who says he knows he was intelligent. He knows they interrogated some high officials in the army, and then the person is right now sitting in the government. But I expect that what government should do is to call such a man. Let's know. Let's take action. But
all right, Michael, thank you very much. Well, unfortunately, I think we cannot continue the conversation any further. But before we go, let's talk about the forthcoming presentation of a book written by our very own Dr. Olayinka Oyegbile. I think you'd like to share with us your book, The Dirty Leap.
Yeah, the title of the book is The Dirty Leap. Actually, it's a play. It takes a look at the problem that Nigeria is facing now, the issue of drug trafficking and all that. And the chairman and chief executive of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, has graciously agreed to be the special guest of honor at the official presentation sometime in October 27 to be precise, here in Lagos. I'm inviting each and every one of our fans on Journalist Hangout to please come along and watch and contribute.
Have a look at the book as well.
Yeah. The title is The Dirty Leap. Is dedicated to one of Nigeria's most prominent playwright, Professor Femi Osofison. So I'm inviting each and every one of us, please keep your calendar open for October 27th here in Lagos to come and have a look and support one of your own.
Thank you so much, and congratulations as well on your book.
Congratulations, Doc.
Thank you.
Well, that's about it on today's edition of Journalist Hangout. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of the show, and also you can watch a repeat broadcast of it tonight at 11. And don't forget to